Good morning, and welcome to the final event in observation of Black History Month. As a prelude to the panel discussion, we're going to watch a short video about the life and legacy of Booker T. Washington and his contribution to technical education. Everyone, if you would mute your mics, that would be very much appreciated. Could you run the video, please?
It means a great deal, I think, to start off on a foundation which one has made for oneself. My name is Booker T. Washington. I was born into slavery in 1856 in Franklin County, Virginia. My mother, Jane, was an enslaved cook for plantation owners James and Elizabeth Burroughs. After the Civil War, my mother, siblings, and I, along with many other slaves, were freed. I was 9 years old. This was one of the first obstacles I overcame in life. I went from being owned by another person to being a free man. You see, success is to be measured not so much by the position that one has reached in life as by the obstacles in which he has overcome. After being free, we moved to Malden, West Virginia. I worked at a local mine, and I was allowed to attend school, but only after my work hours. While working in the coal mines, I overheard other workers speaking of this place, Hampton Institute. This was also known as Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institute, which was a school for former slaves in southeastern Virginia. The school was founded by General Samuel Chapman Armstrong. The general led black troops for the Union during the Civil War and after was dedicated to educational opportunities for African Americans. I had the opportunity to attend in 1872 when I was 16 years of age. I was so grateful for this opportunity. I knew from a young age that a good, strong education was vital. Now that I think about it, I walked most of the way to Hampton from Malden, about 500 miles, I'd say. I was a good student. I especially enjoyed public speaking and debate. I was provided a job as a janitor to pay for my room and board. I graduated with honors in 1875 and was chosen to speak at my commencement. I particularly took pride in this since I love public speaking so much. Well, I must have made a great impression on General Armstrong because after leaving Hampton, he recommended me for a position as principal of a new school for blacks in Macon County, the Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute for the Training of Black Teachers. General Armstrong was a great man, the noblest, rarest human being it has ever been my privilege to meet. Well, I arrived with great work ahead of me. There was no land, no buildings, and little to no money, except for salaries for staff members. I prepared to plan to make this school a reality. I worked to raise money, I recruited students, and the support from the community was vital. We succeeded in raising enough funds to purchase a 100-acre plantation on the outskirts of Tuskegee. The students built a kiln, made bricks for buildings to be built, and sold bricks to raise money. We successfully built classroom buildings, a dining hall, a girls' dormitory, and a chapel. By 1888, Tuskegee Normal and Industrial Institute had more than 400 enrolled students. We offered training in skilled trades such as carpentry, cabinet making, printing, and agriculture. We made an effort in academics to relate the subject matter to the actual experiences of the students, and our students flourished with this approach. I invited my own brother, John, also a Hampton graduate, to come and direct the vocational training program at Tuskegee. I brought Dr. George Washington Carver onto the staff, who became the director of the agricultural program in 1896. My belief, if you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. Okay, let's flash forward. On the 25th anniversary of the Tuskegee Institute, we had transformed that 100-acre plantation into a 2,000-acre, 83-building campus with equipment, livestock, and stock in trade. Training in 37 industries was available for more than 1,500 students enrolled at that time. I served with the Tuskegee Institute from 1881 to 1915. I went on to write about 40 books, I believe, some of which Up From Slavery in 1901, Character Building in 1902, and My Large Education in 1911. I was asked to speak on the opening day of the Atlanta Exposition in 1895. This exposition was to showcase the economic progress of the South since the Civil War, and this opened the door for me onto the national scene, politics that is. In 1901, I was formally invited by President Theodore Roosevelt himself to dine in the White House. Now think about that. Do you realize I was the first Black person to do so? Talk about overcoming obstacles. Following, I was counsel to U.S. presidents for many years thereafter, and I took pride in that counsel. I became ill November 5th, 1915, and was admitted to St. Luke's Hospital in New York City. On November 12th, I asked to be taken to Tuskegee. This is where my heart had always been, and this is where I wanted to spend my last days. I died 2 days later, November 14th, 1915, at 59 years of age. The best way for me to sum up the wins and losses of my life and pioneering spirit of my efforts and success in technical education is simply this: nothing ever comes to me that is worth having except as a result of hard work. You see, I had a vision, a concept of practical, useful education for individuals to be successful and provide for themselves. I worked hard, applied myself, overcame many obstacles, and succeeded. I've learned success always leaves footprints. And what a footprint was made on not only education of African Americans and technical education, but education as a whole. I am Booker T. Washington, hardworking, practical, educator, pioneer, mentor, and successful man in the field of education. Thank you for listening to my story. Work hard, apply yourself, overcome obstacles, lift others up through mentorship, build a strong foundation for oneself, and succeed, because I have paved your way.
Okay, here. Okay. We've just watched an inspiring video that gave just the highlights of some of Booker T. Washington's accomplishments throughout his extraordinary life. What a wonderful video. I'm Mia Cole, and I'm very pleased to be the moderator for this final presentation, in which we will have a panel of experts discuss the importance of developing a strong foundation for oneself. Today, we will have an opportunity to hear from two thought leaders about the importance of developing ourselves for the future. My goal is to moderate a lively, informative, and stimulating dialogue. I want to ensure that this session is valuable, the content is relevant, and the takeaways are helpful and useful. First, let me share a little with you about my background. I have been an area commissioner here at NETC for 5 years, representing Marlborough County, which is one of 3 top counties in South Carolina. The other 2 are Chesterfield County and Dillon County. I have worked for 4 Fortune 500 companies in the area of leadership, change management, and supplier diversity. For those of you who may not be familiar with the term supplier diversity, it's an effort by major corporations to ensure that minority and women-owned businesses are part of the corporate supply chain. This is important because it brings about economic development to minorities and low-income communities. Now, let me take a moment to introduce our panelists. Dr. Kyle Wagner is president, to my right, is president of Northeastern Technical College. He earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in Aviation Technology, a Master's of Science in Aviation Safety, and a Doctorate of Philosophy in Organization and Management. Dr. Wagner has advocated diligently throughout his career in higher education for the development of educational degrees aligned with employment opportunities and developed career paths that provide clear opportunities for students. He also advocates for encouraging colleges to utilize industry certifications and training within their programs and providing access and degree completion for student success for both traditional and non-traditional students. Our second panelist to my left is Mr. Timothy Gibbs. Mr. Gibbs is the principal of Dillon High School and was born and raised in Florence, South Carolina. He attended Clemson University, where he earned a Bachelor's of Education and received a dual Master's in Administration and Curriculum from the University of Charlotte. He has 28 years of service in education, with 22 years serving as an administrator. He began his career as a teacher, then as an assistant principal, and for the last 15 years, he served as a principal. Please, let's welcome Dr. Kyle Wagner and Mr. Timothy Gibbs.
Thank you.
The process for this session will be open. For the first half, I will have a series of questions to ask our panelists. I will start with Dr. Wagner and then ask Mr. Gibbs the same question. If either panelist want to respond to what was previously said, just let me know. What I want to do is to create a dialogue, an ongoing dialogue. I don't want to put a timeline or a time limit on the response, but I would like to keep your responses, the two of you to keep your responses as condensed and short as possible to facilitate the timeline. The second half of the session will be open to the audience to ask questions. Okay, so let's begin. So Dr. Wagner, the first question. In the video that we just saw about Booker T. Washington, he quotes by saying, "Nothing ever comes to me that is worth having, except as a result of hard work." Looking back over your own journey to where we are today, can you describe briefly how you now see your hard work playing off?
Well, yes, and the situation is that I believe my journey is still going. And I think everyone's on a journey, and the journey ends whenever life ends. And I think that everybody you come in touch with, you have an opportunity to create a relationship with. And he actually said that quote in 1901 in a book that he published called Up in Slavery. It's a very good book. I scanned it last night and I want to go back and read it for detail because he had a lot of interesting things to say. And in this area, he said another thing. He said, he always will do his duty regarding making our work known to individuals and organizations. And I think that is where he was going out and building the Institute and really advocating for African Americans to get into technical education. And then from the second part of this that he said was, don't worry about the results. And I think what he meant by that was kind of the way I've always looked at my own life. And that is that I want to go out and work hard. And I want to surround myself with people that challenge me and ask me to advance and to push my limits. And then just like a second one, I couldn't say it any better. Don't worry about the results. The results will show itself. People will elevate to you. And another thing he said was every time he goes out and gives a speech, he gives ideas in every word. He wants to plant words in the people around him that create a creative thought process for them to not only want to get engaged with him, but create opportunities for what his cause is. And I really believe that what he taught back then holds very true today.
Okay, Mr. Gibbs, thank you. Mr. Gibbs, how about you?
Well, I agree with Dr. Wagner on every point that he said. And it's so true to the fact that from me personally, the things that I've been able to do to this journey is still going. It's still going on, and I'm still looking forward to doing even more And this is based on being able to work hard all my life, putting forth those things that make my thought processes in the right way. And it's thinking through, like he said, even further in the video, he stated that the children did so much better when they did real life experiences. And as we go through life, our experiences help us. Which
Yes,
is
absolutely.
one absolute thing is you learn from your mistakes. You learn from everything that you touch, see, read, whatever you breathe, you learn from it. And so having that type of thought process helps us move forward and helps me be successful towards my students and just what I want to do in life and to build somebody else up.
Great.
Oh, I agree. And the thing is I like what you said about you got to do those experiences. And you learn the most when you make mistakes. And it's okay to make mistakes because just like Booker T. Washington said, he said, let the results pay off. You might make a mistake, but the result of what you did will pay off in dividends down the road. And the more you build your life around those experiences and with that as a goal in mind, the more network of people you'll have, the more things that you can touch, the more differences you can make in your community. And that's what we all want to do throughout our life is we want to make a difference in our community and we want to bring other people with us.
Yes, absolutely. The thing that comes to mind to me is lifetime learning. And you just never get too old to learn because there's so much out there to learn. Okay, the second question, we're going to go to Mr. Gibbs. In today's culture, which is much different than the culture that existed during the Booker T. Washington era, what are some of the things needed to build a strong and better future?
Well, as we stated before, it's still going on. And with NETC, well, let me back up for a second. Booker T. Washington was a true advocate for vocational learning. And there was a debate between he and W.E.D. Du Bois, and because he was more academic. So they had that kind of conflict of which one serves our people best. I think us working through NETC, going towards the future, we have combined the two because we have the dual credit program through NETC, and now we have the technical side through NETC. So we've been able to merge those two things together, which helps us move our kids in both directions. And with technology advancing as it has, they're combining technology and academics. So our kids are experiencing both. I wish both of them were here today alive to see the magic that's being woven between the two. So that to me is the most important thing. And I think we are still moving in that direction for our future. And that's what's going to make it better as we get stronger and stronger.
I agree. And Booker T. Washington, as I read and learned more about what Booker T. Washington believed, he had three philosophies. And it was his first philosophy was built around self-help. And that was people providing support and helping each other, usually in an informal way through books, mentoring, and personal development in groups. And I can remember mentors, and it's kind of interesting, one of my first mentors brought the three things that he talks to me and told me this is what I need. And I can remember at 14 years old, driving a farmer's truck around the field and building fins with him in the passenger seat. And the reason why I worked for him was he had a hernia in a horse accident. And he hired me to be his hand because he couldn't lift things. And he instilled these same philosophies that Booker T. Washington talked about. And that was self-help. You got to take responsibility for yourself. And you got to take the responsibility of learning on your own. And the other thing is hard work. Be the most valuable to your employer. If your employer doesn't say, you know, if it wasn't for Dr. Wagner working here, I don't know what we would do. That's what you want people to say. And it's just like at your high school. If it wasn't for you, the high school does not function. And that's the type of footprint you want to leave at your employer. And the last one is material prosperity. And Booker T. Washington believed that in order for African Americans to rise up, they had to be economically equal to the white ruling class. And I believe the same thing. I think that you should have to have economic ingredients and economic independence. So that way you can build self-knowledge. And through self-knowledge, you build a network of people and you build a network of wealth to help you be successful. And I don't mean wealth as a negative thing. I mean wealth as wealth is many things. It can be money. It can be people. It can be knowledge. That wealth is what you bring to the table. And I think Booker T. Washington really demonstrated that in the building of his institution and what he tried to instill as the country was going through quite a change in its history. And I think that that was key to what we all should do throughout our lives. And that is when we look at that, we need to be thinking of that philosophy of how are we bettering ourselves every day, every experience, every skill, how can we improve on it? And if we can improve on it, it starts bringing you business ideas and opportunity for growth.
Yes.
Which brings you that economic independence that then allows you to make changes in your community.
Do you think over the last few years, we've kind of gotten off track with that a little bit in terms of the kinds of things that that students should be learning?
I think so. I think that we don't teach financial responsibility very well because we look at wealth or obtaining that influence that a wealth of knowledge or money or those things bring to you, or influence in a community is also wealth. And is looked upon as a negative thing. And it's not a negative thing. It's a very positive thing, because then you can help others be successful when you do that. And I think that colleges and high schools need to focus on helping people learn self-help and self-improvement.
Okay, great. So Dr. Wagner, let me just ask another question to you. What fundamental principles have you learned and used that could be helpful to someone today?
Well, I like to go back to his philosophy, because in self-help, you get help. There's lots of mentors out there. There's a lot of people that reach out and help you. And then in turn, you help others. It doesn't matter if you're going to a church, if you get involved with a local Boy Scout troop or Cub Scout troop, how do you help them become successful? Because that becomes a more network of people in the future that you can connect with. The world is very large, but it's very small when you make personal connections. And the other thing is you want to help yourself. You want to make sure it's a mutual benefit for everyone involved. You always want to say, what I'm doing is positive for myself and positive for my community and positive for the people that I bring in. And there's some great books out there in self-help that will help you. One of the books that I highly recommend is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's a time-proven book to help you. Another one is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. That's another great book. And if you're not writing these down, you need to be writing them down.
And you know what? Those books have been around for a long time.
That's right.
Time.
It's just like Booker T. Washington. He observed it. One of the things that he talked about in Up From Slavery was how he observed people that he interacted with, and he looked at what made them successful. And he talks about that in his book. And I think that's why he was followed with the second book about character building. Because I think it built on the lessons he learned as he was building the institution and working with people. Another great book is Who Moved My Cheese? Because guess what? Everything changes. Everything changes throughout your life. And what's going on today will probably be past. I remember when I worked at Purdue University, one of the things that they said there was the top 20 jobs 10 years from now, only 2 exist. And that's why you really need to be ready for change. And then one of the big staples is The Greatest Salesman in the World. That is a great book, and they've been around for a long time, and they're proven. Another one is philosophy is hard work. And it's to be the most valuable asset at the company that you work on. You want to be there, you want to turn on the lights, and you want to turn the lights off. What you want to know is you want to make sure that you are a productive person within that company or in your own life, and you're bringing success to that company, and you're bringing success to yourself at the same time.
Absolutely.
And some great books to turn to there is Good to Great. Good to Great is an outstanding one. Think and Grow Rich. That's a long time old book that's great. Make Your Bed. That was kind of interesting because it talks about the little things you do every day, like make your bed, and how important that is in being successful. And another one that I'm a big advocate for is Free Prize Inside. And what that is based off the Cracker Jack box. Remember everybody when you got the little prize inside? That was so cool. What's your prize? When you're on that work, you should always be bettering yourself, improving what you know, improving your knowledge, so you can bring that free prize inside.
Yes.
So your employer recognizes that free prize. And then the last one is one of his philosophies is the material prosperity. And my grandfather used to say this: it's not what you make, it's how you spend it. $75 a week, $300 a month in your 20s. And if you stop when you turn 30 and never put another dime into savings, you will have 1.6 million when you retire.
Wow.
So it's amazing. So when you think about that pizza, or if you started vaporing and you're using vaporing, or you're doing those bad habits, think about, one, how that's going to affect your health and your future success, but also think about every time you're buying that, you're putting wealth in someone else's pocket. And that should be going in your own pocket. Some books to read that help you in this area is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Great book to teach you about managing money. Cash Flow Quadrant by the same author. It really teaches you how businesses and companies and yourself should put your money into areas of payoff, and how you do that in a formula that helps you be successful. A Millionaire Next Door. A lot of people live right next door. Millionaires don't flaunt their wealth.
Yeah.
They use their wealth to better the community. And that's what we all want to do, is better our community. And that book really talks about that. So I think that those principles that he talked about and those philosophies can be applied today and bring success to anyone who wants to do it. And these are just some common books that I found that I've read throughout my life that's really gave me insight. And I know you said that you've read some of the books.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you have.
Everything up there. Yeah.
The Millionaire Next Door.
Oh, yes. So, Mr. Gibbs, what are your foundational principles?
Well, how do you follow that? First of all, so I have a few things. I'm gonna just piggyback on Dr. Wagner real quick. As he's already stated, read and learn as much as possible. Those books are.
Well, he says self-help. You got to take initiative to be successful.
Yes, absolutely.
And The Millionaire Next Door, which I've read, one of the books you listed, it truly outlines how you can be successful. And it's a beautiful book. Everybody should read it. Also, know that there's always something that you can contribute as well as others. Because if you're the only person putting, as you say, into the pot, then you're missing out on a variety of other things if you don't trust other people and listen to other people as well. Your point should be valued, and you should understand that, but you should also value others' points of view, because we have to work together in certain situations. And you can't be an island. No man is an island, you know that saying. So be understanding and understand what your contributions are as well as everybody else.
Well, and I think that's why Booker T. Washington said that surround yourself with people that push you. Right. That you can bounce ideas off, that you trust, that you can connect with, that wants to help you be better. Because if they're not there to help you to be better, then they're not a true friend.
That's true.
And you're there to be their friend, to help them be better. And that's a mutual agreement that brings success to both, which is part of learning wealth.
Absolutely.
Because that's wealth of contacts and wealth of connections.
Yes, absolutely.
But his school was built to help people be self-sufficient.
Yes.
To provide for their families and become entrepreneurs, basically, on all the things that they were doing, cabinetry making, printing, and all the other technical courses that they were taught you to be self-sufficient, which to me, entrepreneurship, controlling your own life and your own destiny, and also loving what you do, you will always be successful. And that's what he kind of pushed, was not only getting to these things to be self-sufficient, but if you put your whole heart into it and you love what you do, and you like what you do. I love being a principal. I love being an educator. My goal was not to be a principal to start off with, but as I became a teacher, my principal told me, you need to go into administration, because I was doing things in the building that he was doing, he was supposed to do, but he just kind of let it shift towards me because it took it off his desk. And I didn't know. I just thought I was helping out my colleagues by dealing with kids all day long. And he came and said, you need to take that route. That was not a goal for me, but he helped inspire me to move on to be an administrator. Then I went on
I think that's a great example of a mentor that a lot of people would take that as, well, he's just giving me my work. Oh man, all he does is give me more work. Am I right?
Right,
But
right.
instead, he was mentoring you and encouraging you to become a principal, to move, to challenge yourself, and to give you projects to move you forward. And I think that's what a lot of people today don't realize, is that whenever someone challenges you, they see something in you that you might not see.
That's just true.
And they're trying to help you see it. And they're trying to help you build skills to be successful.
Absolutely. I think one of the greatest areas is to have a passion for what you do. Like you said, love what you do, and that will sustain you for
They say
life.
love what you do and you'll never work a day in your
And
life.
you'll never work a
And
day in your
the
life.
same
That's
way, I
true.
love what I do,
That's
and I don't ever consider it to work. And some people say, how can you do this 16 hours a day? It's not work. It's a lot of fun.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, so let's just go on to, I have got another question. I forgot where we were to, we'll take the next question, but what is the one critical element that we need to address to navigate the rough terrain during this time of the pandemic or COVID-19?
Well,
Dr. Wagner?
I can take that from the college standpoint. When COVID-19 hit, we saw it as an opportunity. It's a lifestyle change. We have to change. And back to that, who moved my cheese? Accept it and figure out now, how do you bring the most benefit to the community through that? And you can do that in your personal life. COVID has affected everyone. So what adjustments have you made in your life to adjust to COVID? And then how are you networking, and how are you then making those changes in your community, making those changes in your own family? How are those changes affecting your church, your organizations you join to? And through that, that's stuff that you need to really look at throughout your life, because there's probably going to be another COVID-19. I'm not saying there's going to be COVID-19, but there's going to be another incident. I can remember in college when the 9/11 happened. Life-changing, but we adjusted, changed what we did, and there's opportunities in every situation like that to look at, and the opportunity is to grow yourself.
Well, learn from our mistakes. Look at what we did during this process. So as you said, when the next one comes along, we're better prepared. And it's okay to have the discussion, talk about it, educate yourself about it, learn as much as you possibly can so that we can be prepared for the future.
So you're saying self-evaluation is important.
Always.
So for self-evaluation is key to know how to move forward.
Right. And going back to the other part, know what your contribution is. It's okay to be wrong.
Yes,
and self-evaluation is extremely, extremely difficult, because you have to look at yourself and you have to check those boxes, and you can't check every box. You have to be honest with yourself, and being honest with yourself lets you know exactly what you contribute to this thing. So once you're honest, then you can look at it from a realistic point of view and move forward.
Well, and I think another thing is mentors. Even whenever you were when he was pushing work to you to do as principal, he was mentoring you and helping you self-evaluate.
Yes.
And it's okay to get criticism if it's met in a productive way. So self-evaluation or relying on your mentors to be true to you and help you see where something might not have went the direction you wanted to do, and make you aware of that, really helps you grow, because that helps you even be more successful, because now you're learning from their mistakes, because they see part of what you did. They might have made the same mistake, and they want to give you insight of their 20 years on the job to tell you why that didn't work. And it's all about that payoff down the road.
Absolutely.
It's all about how you keep building and building and building this network of knowledge, contacts, and people that you can rely on as you keep moving through your life.
Yeah, great. Thank you. We have a question from the audience, and I'll give this to Mr. Gibbs. Recently, it was reported that our service areas are the top least educated counties in the state. How did Booker T. Washington's technical education and two-year colleges and K-12 programs get us out of that low ranking?
Well, we're doing that right now at Dillon High School, thanks to NETC and the programs that they offer. The dual credit programs are helping us educate our kids even further. And I can speak from personal experience, because my son took advantage of that dual credit, saved me $30,000 on college education. So it's extremely beneficial. We are moving forward, And we are getting more programs through NETC for all of our kids who may not want to go to a 4-year college, 2-year degree, or associate's degree. Some of them can just learn, the CDL program. I mean, so many different opportunities are coming that's going to push us to the top and not have us at the bottom. We are on our way, and I'm extremely excited about that. I'm proud of it, and I'll preach it to anybody that comes through the door or who wants to listen, because that program is going beyond my expectations, and I want to run with it. Like you said, we're still working, we're still going forward, and we're going to keep going that way. And that is that's what Booker T. Washington was trying to push back then for African Americans.
Yes.
And now, for all kids, everybody can benefit from this experience. And that's what, he was trying to do.
Oh, I agree. Same thing is that higher education has focused on the top 20%. The kids that are 3.0, 3.5, 3.7. I went to the award ceremony at the end of the year, and the same 17 kids stand up and get all kinds of scholarships. And the rest sat there and just watch it go on. And that's what creates that environment. And I also like to say that if you went to college, there's a 93% chance that your kids are going to go to college. Well, if we flip that on the head and we say, well, if your parents were low income, or they were on welfare, or they were middle income, there's a 93% chance that you're going to be the same way.
Yes.
Because that environment that you're in, it creates that environment. And Northeastern Technical College, with partnership with the high schools, is providing that mentorship. We're working with the high schools to create that vision. And I'll tell you, the dual enrollment program has grown. Over the last 5 years, we've served over 3,600 students in dual credit. That's going to change those percentages. Matter of fact, if you go and look at that data, because I dissected that article myself because I couldn't believe it when it hit.
Yes.
Marlboro County, as an example, Marlboro County, 10 years ago, 20% of their population had some college or associate's degrees. Today, 26%. That's a 6% increase in less than 7 years. And I said the same thing in Dillon. Dillon had similar numbers, and they're up 1.8% in just the last 3 years. That's phenomenal change in our community. And it's done with people getting passionate and providing the opportunity to the 80% of students that we term at Northeastern Technical College as the invisible student. The student that you see when you go to McDonald's and order your hamburger, the student that you see at Walmart collecting carts in the parking lot. Those are the students that I think Booker T. Washington didn't want the African American community to be whenever they experienced freedom after the Civil War. And that's why he created the education and the technical opportunity. Because I can tell you right now, you want to pay someone a lot of money? Have them come fix your plumbing in your house.
Absolutely.
You want to fix your car? Tell me anywhere that'll fix your
absolutely.
car for under $100 an hour. That's technical education, and that's in the hands of any student that wants to be successful. And the Dillon High School, the Dillon community, the Chesterfield community, and the Marlboro community sees that, and I think they have as much passion as Booker T. Washington did to bring this to a reality in our service area.
Yeah. Great. So Dr. Wagner, given where we are today, where are we going? Where are we going with technical education? As we look down the road to 5, 10, 15 years down the road, where are we going?
Well, I think technical education is going to become more technical. I think there's two different avenues that it's going down. From a delivery standpoint, I think it's going to become a lot more interactive, online-based, virtual reality, augmented reality, where students get the experiment. I mean, a lot of people have a degree in YouTube, which means I want to know how to change my tire on my car.
Yes.
I Google it and it comes up on YouTube, and I watch how to change tire. I change the tire. I really see that becoming more of a model for education, where we interact all modes of learning. We do it through lecture, we do it through lab experience, the technical skill building, and then we do it through virtual and augmented reality, where you build skills in a virtual world, because things are expensive. And to do technical education is very expensive. I can remember back whenever I was learning to fly airplanes and working in the airline industry, pilots fly simulators to learn to fly the airplane. Then they fly the airplane when there's passengers behind as a co-pilot, and a pilot's there to fly the airplane that's experienced, and they build their experience that way. And I see technical education going the same direction as that. Then the other piece that I see technical education building into is growing into our reach, making technical education more available, cheaper for it to be taken advantage of, and connecting more industry relevance to the degree. So as robots, automation becomes more and more prominent in our communities and more in our everyday life, we're going to have more interaction with understanding the logic behind that and being able to read and write. I know people read and write. Oh man, I don't want to read and write. Well, guess what? Reading and writing is a foundation of everything. And you got to be able to do that.
Okay. Mr. Gibbs, what's your take on that in terms of where we're going down the road?
I see the same vision that he just talked about. I also had an experience where I went to a technical school and they were working on airplane engines. And he said it got so expensive, they couldn't afford the engines every time for the students to work on. So they got this virtual reality where I had opportunity to walk in and you could see, it's like, I don't know if they call it 4D or whatever it was, but you could walk around and it just floated in the air. And you could stick your hand in and touch certain parts of the engine and pull them out. And that was cost efficient for them. But it also gave every student a chance to work on the engine when they only had one before. Not everybody has their own virtual engine, and they learn the parts much easier. So I see it going in that direction, which is extremely beneficial for them.
And we're actually piloting a program that we have ordered 20 of these virtual goggles. So you can do that interaction, and we're identifying curriculum where if you want to learn how to measure something and do precision measuring, you'll be able to put these goggles on and practice, and then be able to do it in the real life and do the simulation. So fascinating technology is coming, and it's going to come quick. And I think the students of today will embrace this technology more than any student in the past, because they're already seeing it when they're on their cell phone. And so I think that it's become the new norm.
And that goes with Booker T. Washington, being able to actually see it, touch it, do it right there and right then, and have that personal experience.
Absolutely.
It deepens the thought process and the knowledge base.
I agree.
Okay, gentlemen, we're just about at the end. I'm going to give each of you 30 seconds to answer. What is the one thing our audience should do as a result of being in the session today? 30 seconds.
Okay, well, as I always tell my kids, we have to keep learning to listen. If anything else, learn to listen to those mentors that you have, learn to listen to what the teachers have to teach for you. And we have our slogan of excellence is essential at Dillon High School. Listen to what that message is, and that means that your excellence, as Booker T. Washington would say, nothing comes without working hard. So you need to be excellent at that. Work hard, study hard, do what's necessary to get that goal, and make sure you love what you do so that you can embrace all of it and embody it all and be that person that you know you can be.
Great, thank you.
100% agree. And the other thing is embrace today. I challenge everyone tomorrow morning when you wake up, say, today is going to be a better day. Today, I'm going to make a difference, and do that every day when you get up. And that embracing today and investing in today is going to give you dividends in the future that will be phenomenal. And I think a lot of what Booker T. Washington talked about was that payoff in the future, that building that legacy, leaving those footprints, helping people see where you go because you've left footprints for them. And now they can follow in your footprints, and they can even take beyond where you went. the greatest success of any father is to see their child exceed in the areas beyond them.
Right.
And that is exactly what we want to do. So wake up
Okay.
tomorrow and say,
Great.
tomorrow's a better day. And today I'm embracing it.
Okay. Although born into slavery, Booker T. Washington does not aspire to accept the norm as it was, or just to exist. His aspirations were to be a free man and to make a difference. What are you doing today to make a difference in your life, in your family's life, and in your community? This is the end of our session. Thank you very much for attending. Have a blessed day, and thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.